The origins of Native America. The first footprints on the land. Long before history was written on parchment or carved into stone, there were footprints, soft impressions left on riverbanks, grasslands, and desert sands. These were the first quiet signs of human life in what we now call North America. No drums or horns marked their arrival. No flag planted. Only silent steps, cautious movements, and the whispers of wind that carried their stories through the ages. These first peoples did not come with the intention to conquer or to build empires. They came searching for food, for shelter, for safety, for a new chapter of life. Families, wrapped in furs, guided by the stars and the changing seasons, crossed landscapes that were as wild as they were wondrous. Their presence was light but lasting. With each footprint, they began a slow dance with nature, learning to move in harmony with forests, rivers, and plains. Archaeologists believe these early people came over 15,000 years ago, possibly more. Some of their footprints have even been preserved in ancient mud flats in places like New Mexico, giving us a rare glimpse into a moment frozen in time. A child walking beside an adult, perhaps holding hands, in a quiet journey across the land. There were no roads, no written maps, only the guidance of the sun, the stars, and the stories passed down from mouth to mouth, generation to generation. In those early days, the land was vast and empty, yet filled with endless promise. Animals roamed freely, rivers ran wild, and the sky stretched unbroken to the horizon. The first footprints were not just physical steps. They were the beginning of a long and intricate relationship with the continent. A sacred bond formed between people and place, where every tree, every animal, every mountain carried a voice and a lesson. The people listened, and in listening, they began to belong. Theories of migration. Bering Land Bridge. Many scholars believe the ancestors of today's Native Americans came from northeastern Asia, crossing into North America through what is now known as the Bering Land Bridge, or Beringia. At that time, during the Ice Age, sea levels were much lower, and a vast stretch of land connected Siberia to Alaska. It wasn't a narrow strip, but a wide and rugged expanse that supported life, rich with grasses, animals, and water sources. These ancient travelers didn't know they were crossing into a new world. To them, it was just another step in the journey of survival. They followed herds of mammoths and bison, gathered roots and berries, and slowly, generation after generation, moved deeper into the heart of the continent. Not everyone agrees on when this migration occurred. Some theories suggest 13,000 years ago. Others push the date back to 20,000 years or even more. What they all agree on is that these early migrations weren't hurried. They were slow, patient, and spread out over centuries. Imagine a world of ice and snow, where the skies were often gray, and the wind carried the scent of sea and tundra. Families huddled in shelters made of animal hides, telling stories by the fire, tales of the lands they had left behind, and dreams of the forests and rivers that lay ahead. The Bering Land Bridge eventually disappeared beneath rising seas, but the people remained. They moved south, east, and west, adapting to deserts, mountains, lakes, and valleys. From the Arctic Circle to the Gulf of Mexico, their descendants would one day become hundreds of unique tribes, each with their own ways of life, beliefs, and deep connection to the land. Life before the ice melted. Before the ice melted, the world was colder, quieter, and more challenging. Glacier covered large parts of North America. Trees were sparse in the north, and much of the central continent was an open steppe of grasslands and cold winds. But life still thrived here. And so did the people. The early communities lived in small bands. They made tools from stone, bone, and wood. Spears tipped with flint, scrapers for hides, hammers made from antler. These weren't primitive tools. They were precise, effective, passed down and improved upon over generations. They hunted giant animals that no longer roamed the earth: woolly mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats. These hunts required incredible coordination, planning, and bravery. Success meant survival for the entire group. Failure could bring starvation. But life wasn't just about survival. Even in those harsh conditions, people painted on cave walls, carved symbols into bone, wore beads and feathers. There was art. There was beauty. There was meaning. Before the ice melted, the people already understood the rhythms of the earth. They knew the cycles of the moon, the migrations of animals, the signs that told them when to move and when to stay. Their world may have been colder, but it was rich with wonder. Early tools and hunting traditions. The ancient hunters of North America didn't have metal or wheels, but their ingenuity was extraordinary. With little more than stone and sinew, they shaped tools that allowed them to thrive. Clovis points, long, elegant spear tips, are some of the earliest evidence of tool-making on the continent. Crafted with great care, they were sharp enough to pierce the thick hide of a mammoth. These tools weren't just functional, they were beautiful, symmetrical, and often carried personal or clan significance. Hunting was not just a task, it was a sacred act. Prayers were offered before the hunt. Songs were sung. Stories were told of the spirits of the animals, and thanks were given after a kill. Some groups used atlatls, spear throwers that extended the reach and force of a throw. Others set traps or used stampeding techniques to drive herds off cliffs. The knowledge was deep and collective. Elders taught the young. Mistakes were remembered and lessons became law. It was a life of constant learning, guided not by books, but by earth and instinct. Sacred landscapes and first settlements. As the ice melted and the climate warmed, people began to settle, at least for parts of the year. They found fertile valleys, abundant rivers, and mild climates where they could grow roots, both literally and spiritually. Some of these early places, like the meadowlands of what is now Kentucky or the banks of the Columbia River, became sacred. Not just for their resources, but for the stories they held. Caves, rocks, hills, and springs became places of ceremony and memory. Homes were made from earth, wood, or stone, depending on the environment. Some were dug into the ground, insulated with thatch. Others were built above, with careful planning and communal effort. The land itself was not seen as property, it was kin. The mountain was an ancestor. The stream was a sister. Living with the land meant living in relationship with everything around you. These early settlements were not cities in the modern sense, but they were communities, strong and interwoven. Each decision, each tool, each footprint carried weight and purpose. And from these early places, entire cultures would one day rise. Great civilizations of the continent. The mound builders of Cahokia. Nestled along the banks of the Mississippi River, in what is now southern Illinois, once stood a city unlike any other in pre-Columbian North America. Cahokia, the crown jewel of the mound builders, rose from the flatlands with towering earthen mounds, sacred hills crafted by human hands. At its height, Cahokia was home to nearly 20,000 people, rivaling the size of medieval European cities. Its heart was Monk's Mound, a massive platform mound as tall as a 10-story building. This was not just architecture, it was a sacred cosmological statement, connecting the earth to the heavens. The people of Cahokia were sophisticated planners. Their city featured plazas, wooden palisades, ceremonial platforms, and a mysterious solar calendar made from wooden posts known today as Woodhinge. But perhaps most remarkable was the deep spiritual world that animated their society, one where the mounds weren't just structures, but portals between realms, places where the ancestors could be honored and the cosmos could be mirrored on Earth. The Pueblo peoples of the Southwest. Far to the southwest, in the arid landscapes of what we now call Arizona and New Mexico, the Pueblo civilizations carved out a legacy of endurance and innovation. Their villages were sculpted into cliffsides and spread across mesas. Stone and adobe homes stacked like honeycombs, rising from the desert in peaceful silence. The ancestral Puebloans, often known as the Anasazi, built great houses like those found in Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde. These structures were aligned with celestial events, tracking solstices and equinoxes with astonishing precision. Life revolved around agriculture, especially corn, which was treated as both sustenance and spirit. Circular ceremonial chambers, called kivas, served as spiritual centers for communities, sunken rooms that echoed with prayer, storytelling, and ritual. Even after centuries, Pueblo traditions continue today among tribes like the Hopi, Zuni, and Taos, a living legacy of harmony with the earth and sky. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy. In the dense forests of the northeastern woodlands, a powerful alliance was born. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also known as the Iroquois League, consisting of 6 nations, Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and later, the Tuscarora. This confederacy stood as a remarkable early model of democratic governance. The Great Law of Peace, their constitution, emphasized unity, consensus, and the importance of long-term thinking, 7 generations ahead, to be exact. Leaders were chosen not through dominance, but through matrilineal consensus, with clan mothers holding immense power in selecting and guiding chiefs. The Haudenosaunee lived in longhouses, symbolic dwellings not just of families, but of unity. Each nation was seen as a fire under one roof, living in peace while maintaining their distinct voices. Their influence even inspired the framers of the U.S. Constitution, a quiet echo of native genius in modern democracy. The Mississippian Empire. From the Gulf Coast to the Great Lakes, the Mississippian culture radiated influence and power between 800 and 1600 CE. Cahokia was just one city in a vast network of societies that shared religious practices, art styles, and social hierarchies. The Mississippians built complex chiefdoms, with sacred mounds rising like stepping stones toward the heavens. Their art, engraved shells, copper plates, and effigies, depicted spiritual beings, warriors, and cosmic balance. Ritual games like Chung-Ki, played with spears and stones, were more than entertainment. They were symbolic reenactments of celestial battles. Corn agriculture was the backbone of Mississippian life, enabling large urban centers and supporting class systems. Their world was carefully ordered, spiritual above, mortal below, all bound by cycles of the sun and moon. The Pacific Northwest Coastal Societies. Along the misty shores and ancient forests of the Pacific Northwest lived societies built around abundance and storytelling. Tribes such as the Tlingit, Haida, and Salish mastered the art of life from sea and cedar. Their homes, vast longhouses, were framed by towering totem poles that told histories, myths, and the legacy of clans. Here, the potlatch ceremony reigned, a grand ritual of giving, where wealth was shared, burned, or redistributed to elevate the host's status and reinforce communal bonds. These were not just feasts, but performances of philosophy, statements that status comes not from hoarding, but from generosity. Salmon shaped life in this region, honored with rituals at every step of its journey. And art, flowing from red cedar and black ink, carried the forms of ravens, orcas, and spirits, each line a thread in a timeless web of ancestry. Trade networks that crossed the continent. Long before European ships touched American shores, native peoples had already built vast webs of trade that stretched from coast to coast. Shells from the Gulf Coast found their way to the Great Plains. Obsidian from the Rockies ended up in the hands of northeastern tribes. Copper from the Great Lakes shone in the art of southeastern peoples. These were not merely transactions, they were sacred exchanges. Trade brought more than goods. It carried stories, alliances, marriages, and spiritual knowledge. Roads invisible to outsiders were etched into memory and passed from elder to youth. A continental conversation that never needed paper or coin. Agricultural advances before colonization. Many imagine pre-contact North America as untouched wilderness, but it was, in truth, a garden. Native societies carefully shaped the land through selective planting, controlled burns, and seasonal harvesting. Corn, beans, and squash, the 3 sisters, were grown in concert, each supporting the other. In the east, orchards of chestnut and hickory supported both wildlife and people. In California, the land was curated through intentional fire, which helped acorns and grasses flourish. This was agriculture without fences, farming in rhythm with the land. Every planting was a prayer, every harvest a celebration. Astronomy and native timekeeping. Across the continent, indigenous peoples looked to the stars and saw more than beauty. They saw guides. The ancestral Puebloans aligned their structures with solstices and equinoxes. The Mississippians used the sun and moon to structure ceremonies. The Inuit used the stars to navigate frozen oceans. Celestial events weren't just observed. They were integrated into stories, calendars, and ceremonies. Time flowed not in straight lines, but in sacred circles. Moons weren't months, they were events. The moon of falling leaves, the moon of the snowblind. With no clocks, no compasses, native timekeeping was woven into wind, fire, and star. The architecture of earth and spirit. To native societies, building meant more than shelter. It was an act of spiritual harmony. In the east, longhouses stretched like wooden rivers. In the southwest, pueblos emerged from clay and stone like living mountains. On the plains, teepees danced with the wind, portable homes for mobile lives. Materials were local, meaningful: cedar, adobe, birch, grass. Designs reflected culture: open for gatherings, circular for balance, elevated for reverence. Sacred spaces like sweat lodges were crafted to purify the body and awaken the spirit. Form followed faith. Every home was a universe in miniature. The role of oral histories. With no written alphabets, native cultures preserved their legacies in voice. Oral histories were not merely tales, but living libraries, stories passed from elder to child across firelight and time. These histories carried maps, laws, genealogies, and spiritual truths. They taught through rhythm and repetition, where memory became art. Storytellers were revered, guardians of wisdom and witnesses of the sacred. Through story, a people remembered who they were, not just in words, but in tone, gesture, and breath. Even today, oral traditions breathe life into ancient identities that no ink could ever hold. Stories and legends of creation. Whispers of the beginning, calm tales from ancient native myths. The Sky Woman and the Turtle Island. In the beginning, there was no earth as we know it. Only water, endless and deep. Above, in the sky world, lived a woman with luminous hair and a heart full of curiosity. One day, she peered too far through a hole at the base of the sky tree and tumbled gently through the sky, her descent a dance of light and wonder. As she fell, birds flew up to catch her, softening her landing. But where could she go? There was no land, only waves. The animals below, the beaver, the loon, the muskrat, all tried to dive to the bottom of the water to fetch soil for her to land on. Only the muskrat, smallest and most fragile, succeeded. He surfaced with a bit of mud clutched in his tiny paws. The great turtle offered his back, and upon this humble beginning, the earth was formed, Turtle Island. Sky Woman sang over the soil, shaping hills, rivers, and forests. And from her breath came wind, from her tears came rain. Thus began the land, formed from love, sacrifice, and courage. Even today, many native nations refer to North America as Turtle Island, a name older than time. The Corn Mother and Sacred Harvest. Long ago, hunger plagued the people. The soil was dry, and the forests gave little. Then came a beautiful woman, barefoot and radiant, her dress woven with golden strands. She came to a small village, offering her kindness in exchange for shelter. Though they had little, one family welcomed her. In return, she offered a gift. She asked them to follow her instructions without question. She vanished into the forest and instructed the sun to return later. When he did, he found her lifeless body turned into the soil, and from that place, green stalks emerged. Corn, tall and golden, grew from her sacrifice. The people wept but gave thanks. She became known as the Corn Mother, the spirit of nourishment, who gave her life so the people could eat. Even today, in many native traditions, corn is not just food. It is spirit. It is life. At harvest time, songs are sung to her. She dances in the wind, her rustling leaves whispering, "I am still with you." The twins of balance, good and evil. In the beginning, the Sky Woman gave birth to twin sons, one who brought light and one who thrived in shadows. They were not enemies, but opposites, locked in eternal balance. The right-hand twin shaped rivers, carved valleys, and brought medicine plants to the world. The left-handed twin followed, filling the shadows with brambles, cliffs, and stinging weeds. One made deer, the other made thorns. One shaped calm lakes, the other brought storms. Yet both were needed. The people understood that harmony was not the absence of struggle, but the balance of forces. Darkness gave stars their glow. Sadness gave joy its meaning. And so, the twins walked beside every soul, one in each footprint. They taught that life was a circle, not a line. And in that circle, both light and shadow must dance together. The Great Flood and the Otter's Gift. Once, the world was filled with corruption and cruelty. The Creator, saddened by what the people had become, decided to cleanse the earth with a great flood. Rain poured endlessly, and the waters rose until even mountaintops disappeared. Only a few survived, floating on driftwood or hollowed logs. The animals gathered together: beaver, turtle, eagle, and otter. They knew that to build again, they would need soil. So they dived, one by one, trying to reach the drowned earth below. The beaver failed. The loon returned gasping. Then the otter dove, small, silent, and determined. He stayed beneath for so long that they feared he had drowned. But finally, he surfaced, lifeless but smiling, a tiny clump of earth in his paw. From this gift, the world was reborn. The otter became a symbol of sacrifice, laughter, and quiet courage. His tale is told to children whenever water laps gently on the shore, reminding them that even the smallest creature can save the world. How the stars came to be. In the time before stars, the sky was a smooth black canvas. The people lived by firelight and moonshine, but the darkness was deep, and many feared it. A young girl, blind but wise, said she dreamed of lights in the sky, little torches to guide the lost and comfort the lonely. The elders laughed, but she began collecting fireflies in her woven basket. Each night, she would whisper stories to them, tales of love, sorrow, and laughter. The fireflies glowed brighter and brighter with every word. One night, as she opened the basket and sang her final story, they flew up, not into trees, but into the heavens. And there they stayed. Each firefly became a star, a reminder that stories, even whispered by those unseen, can light up the sky. Children are told to wish upon the stars because they are made from dreams, and dreams, once told, can live forever. The Trickster Coyote Tales. Coyote, the eternal wanderer, is perhaps the most beloved and mischievous figure in native lore. Neither good nor evil, Coyote is the teacher who stumbles, the joker who reveals truth by mistake. One tale tells how Coyote tried to steal fire from the mountain spirits. He tricked them with dancing and fake tears, finally grabbing the flame and running across the valleys. The fire burned his tail, singed his fur, but he delivered it to the people. For this, they honored him, not as a hero, but as the chaotic force that still brought light. Coyote is often the fool, but his mistakes open doors. He reminds us that we learn by falling. He laughs so we remember not to take ourselves too seriously. And sometimes, he changes shape, appearing as a cloud, a man, a shadow, a whisper in the wind. Raven's theft of the sun. In the dark days before light, the greedy sky chief kept the sun, moon, and stars locked away in boxes inside his longhouse. The world below was cold and blind, but Raven, clever and curious, devised a plan. He turned himself into a pine needle and floated in the chief's daughter's water bowl. She drank, and soon, gave birth to a strange child, Raven in disguise. As the baby, he played, cried, and charmed the chief. One day, he begged to play with the light. Reluctantly, the chief gave him the sun box. As soon as Raven had it, he transformed back into his true form and flew out of the longhouse. High above the earth, he flung open the box, releasing the sun into the sky. Since then, Raven has been both thief and savior, a reminder that even mischief can bring warmth to the world. Thunderbird and the Serpent. In the skies, the thunderbird flapped its enormous wings, causing thunder to echo through valleys. In the deep lakes below, a great serpent slithered, its body long enough to circle mountains. These two forces, sky and water, were locked in eternal conflict. When drought gripped the land, the people prayed to Thunderbird for storms. When floods threatened their homes, they pleaded with the serpent to rest. Sometimes, their battle lit up the sky with lightning and shook the earth with fury. But the elders taught that both were sacred. The thunderbird carried rain to nourish crops, and the serpent kept rivers flowing. Neither was evil. They were guardians of balance, forever chasing, never catching, always in motion, like breath itself. The talking trees and silent rivers. There was a time when trees could speak and rivers could sing. The forests hummed with stories, and the rivers carried news from mountain to sea. Trees told tales of ancient storms, of lovers who carved names in their bark, of animals who slept in their roots. But humans stopped listening. Their ears filled with noise, and their hearts grew heavy with other concerns. One by one, the trees grew silent. The rivers, too, hushed their songs, waiting for someone to notice. Today, some say if you lie under a tree with your eyes closed, and your breath slow, you might still hear a whisper. The trees remember everything. The rivers remember your name. The 4 sacred directions. Before maps, compasses, or GPS, native peoples knew the power of direction. North, south, east, and west, each held meaning, spirit, and guidance. The east is where the sun rises, the direction of beginnings, birth, and hope. It is the color yellow, the eagle, and the breath of morning. The south is warmth, growth, and emotion. It is red, the direction of youth and fire. The west is where the sun sets, the place of reflection, death, and rest. It is black, the bear, the dream. The north is wisdom, patience, and the white of snow. It is where ancestors whisper in the wind. Together, the 4 directions form a circle, the sacred hoop. They guide ceremony, healing, and understanding. Even today, many native lodges and dances begin by honoring these directions, a compass not of metal, but of the soul. First encounters and first impressions. When the first European ships appeared on the horizon of the vast Atlantic, the native peoples of the continent met them not with violence, but with awe, curiosity, and caution. The arrival of pale-skinned strangers in floating wooden houses seemed at first like a vision from an ancient dream. To many tribes, especially along the eastern seaboard, these early encounters were filled with tension but not immediate conflict. The Wampanoag, Abenaki, and Powhatan people were among the first to witness these strange arrivals. Their impressions were mixed. Some thought the Europeans were spirits or gods. Others believed they were fellow humans, lost or seeking help. Native hospitality, deeply embedded in cultural values, led to acts of generosity, offering food, shelter, and guidance through unfamiliar terrain. Europeans wrote glowingly about these first meetings. To them, the native people were noble savages, exotic and hospitable. But this admiration was superficial. Misunderstandings emerged quickly. What Europeans saw as uncivilized was, in fact, a complex web of customs, spirituality, and land stewardship. Yet in these first impressions, seeds of alliance and destruction were both planted. Friendly exchanges soon turned into deeper, more tangled relationships. The trade of beads, fur, and power. Trade became the first bridge between the two worlds. Glass beads, iron tools, and metal pots were exchanged for beaver pelts, maize, tobacco, and crafted goods. To the Europeans, native furs became a path to wealth. To native communities, European metal and textiles offered new possibilities. Fur, especially beaver, became a currency of power. Entire ecosystems were reshaped by demand. Native men hunted deeper into forests, and tribal rivalries were inflamed as alliances with Europeans became strategic necessities. The Iroquois and Huron became central players in the fur trade, leveraging their positions to strengthen their nations. However, trade was never just about goods. It was about influence. It shifted power balances between tribes and slowly introduced dependency. Over time, what began as mutual exchange became a tool of dominance. The disruption of old alliances. The arrival of Europeans didn't just add new players. It reshaped old dynamics. Intertribal diplomacy, honed over centuries, was appended as some tribes allied with the French, others with the English or Dutch. These new alliances fractured older bonds. The Beaver Wars in the Northeast are a prime example. The Iroquois, armed with European weapons, launched raids against traditional enemies to control fur roots. Old rivalries were rekindled with new intensity. Tribes that once shared ceremonies and trade now found themselves at odds, sometimes manipulated by European ambitions. Where once peace could be restored through council fires and sacred treaties, now decisions were influenced by foreign needs and unfamiliar pressures. Disease and its devastating toll. Perhaps the most devastating impact of European arrival came invisibly. Disease. Smallpox, measles, and influenza swept through native communities like fire through dry grass. With no immunity, populations plummeted. Entire villages were lost, elders and knowledge keepers wiped out within weeks. These diseases weakened resistance, destroyed cultural continuity, and sowed fear. Some native people believed they were being punished by the spirits. Others saw it as a curse brought by strangers. For the Europeans, the devastation was often viewed with cold practicality. Land was now easier to take, resistance less likely. Estimates suggest that in some regions, over 90% of the native population perished within a century of first contact. The role of native guides and translators. Despite devastation, native individuals played critical roles in navigating this new era. Many stepped into the roles of guides, translators, and cultural mediators. Squanto, perhaps the most famous, helped the pilgrims survive their first brutal winter, teaching them how to plant corn and find local food. These figures were often caught between worlds. Some were kidnapped and brought to Europe, learning English, Spanish, or French before returning home. Their knowledge made them invaluable to both sides, but also deeply isolated. Their stories are ones of bravery, adaptability, and sometimes betrayal. They sought peace, understanding, and survival in a world that was rapidly changing. Resistance begins in whispered warnings. As more ships arrived and settlements grew, whispers of concern spread through native camps and councils. Spiritual leaders warned of coming danger. Warriors began to prepare. Women told stories of the old ways, trying to preserve memory against the encroaching wave. Some resistance was quiet, refusing trade, moving deeper into the forests. Other acts were open. Leaders like Powhatan and later Metacom, King Philip, tried to push back. But the weapons of war had changed, and the diseases had weakened the people. Still, resistance lived on. In dances, in songs, in stories passed from grandmother to grandchild around flickering fires. The transformation of sacred lands. Land, to native peoples, was not something to be owned. It was a relative, a sacred being. Every mountain, river, and tree had a spirit, a story, a place in the larger balance of life. To Europeans, land was property, meant to be claimed, farmed, fenced, and sold. As settlements grew, sacred groves became pastures, burial sites became roads. Forests were cut down, rivers diverted. The very idea of what land meant fractured the relationship between the two worlds. Treaties were signed under false understandings. Native people believed they were sharing space. Europeans believed they were buying it forever. This misunderstanding would echo for centuries. The clash of worldviews. Beyond land and trade, the most profound divide was spiritual and cultural. Native cosmology saw humans as part of a web of life, guided by ancestors, animals, and stars. Europeans came with strict hierarchies, a single god, and a drive to convert and dominate. Ceremonies were dismissed as pagan. Languages were forbidden. Children were taken to boarding schools to civilize them. This clash wasn't just political. It was a battle for identity, for the soul of entire peoples. And yet, native resilience endured. Secret ceremonies continued in forests. Songs were whispered at night. Beliefs adapted, evolved, survived. The missions and their shadows. With the Spanish in the southwest, the French in the north, and others across the continent, Christian missions sprang up. Priests came not only to trade but to convert. Churches were built atop sacred grounds. Drums and dances were replaced with hymns. Some native people embraced Christianity, blending it with their own traditions in quiet defiance. Others resisted, seeing missions as prisons for the spirit. The missions brought education, new crops, and medicine, but also punishment, erasure, and cultural loss. Behind their stone walls, a new battle was being fought. The fight for the soul of a people. The long memory of the first contact. Even today, the memory of those first encounters lives on. In tribal stories, historical reenactments, and museum exhibits, the arrival of the Europeans is not just a tale of loss, it is a story of endurance. The native nations that remain carry forward the teachings of their ancestors. They remember how the first handshakes turned into broken treaties, but also how generosity and strength endured. That long memory is not just historical, it is spiritual. It reminds each new generation of who they are, where they come from, and why the fire of their people still burns, against all odds. Depictions of river spirits and water beings serve as reminders of the vital connection between water, spirit, and culture. Contemporary relevance of water spirits. In today's world, the recognition of water spirits continues to inspire activism and cultural revitalization. Tribal leaders and activists often invoke these spirits in efforts to protect sacred waters from pipelines, dams, and contamination. Water spirits and future generations. The teachings of water beings emphasize respect, balance, and gratitude. Passing these stories and practices to younger generations ensures the continued reverence for water as a source of life and spiritual power. The language of the stones. Stones and rocks have long held profound significance in Native American cultures, regarded not just as physical objects but as living entities with stories, memories, and wisdom encoded within them. The belief in the language of the stones reflects the deep spiritual connection indigenous peoples have with the earth, viewing stones as silent witnesses to history, keepers of knowledge, and messengers between the natural and spiritual worlds. Stones as living beings. Many native traditions teach that stones are alive with spirit, possessing consciousness and memory. These rocks are more than mineral matter. They are integral participants in the fabric of life. Stones are seen as repositories of ancient wisdom, holding the experiences of the land and the people who have walked upon it. The sacred stories embedded in stones. The language of stones refers to the stories and lessons carried by them, often passed down through oral tradition and ceremony. Some stones are believed to contain the voices of ancestors or the echoes of significant events, making them sacred relics and storytelling tools. Petroglyphs and rock art. Stones as storytellers. Ancient rock carvings and paintings serve as visual languages, a way for tribes to communicate their histories, cosmologies, and spiritual beliefs. These petroglyphs are a tangible form of stone language, bridging time and space to connect past generations with the present. Stones in ceremony and ritual. Certain stones are central to ceremonial practices, used as altars, tools, or symbolic objects to invoke spiritual power. The choice of stones in rituals reflects their perceived spiritual potency and their connection to the natural world. Healing powers of stones. Many native cultures attribute healing properties to specific stones or minerals. They are used in ceremonies, medicine bundles, and sweat lodges to cleanse, protect, and balance the physical and spiritual bodies. Stones as guides and guardians. Stones often mark sacred sites, boundaries, or paths, serving as guides for those who seek spiritual or physical direction. They may act as guardians of sacred places, protecting the land and its inhabitants from harm. Geology and spirituality intertwined. The physical characteristics of stones, their color, shape, texture, are deeply linked to their spiritual meaning. Each type of stone is associated with specific powers, lessons, or connections to elements like fire, water, earth, and air. The role of stones in creation stories. Many creation myths highlight stones as foundational elements of the world or as beings involved in the formation of the land and life. These stories illustrate the sacred status of stones and their role in the cosmic order. Contemporary significance of stone language. Today, native artists, activists, and cultural leaders continue to honor the language of stones in their work, using traditional knowledge to promote environmental respect and cultural identity. Stones remain symbols of resilience, history, and connection to the earth in native communities. Passing the language to future generations. Teaching the language of stones to young people is vital for preserving cultural heritage. Through storytelling, art, and ceremony, the wisdom of stones is kept alive, fostering respect for the earth and its ancient voices. The fires that never go out. In Native American cultures, fire is far more than a physical phenomenon. It is a powerful spiritual symbol representing life, transformation, renewal, and connection to the Creator. The concept of the fires that never go out speaks to the eternal presence of sacred fire, an unbroken flame that carries the prayers, histories, and spirit of the people across generations. This flame is a living symbol of endurance, hope, and cultural continuity. The sacredness of fire. Fire is seen as a gift from the Creator, a source of warmth, light, and life. It purifies and transforms, enabling both physical survival and spiritual growth. Many tribes maintain sacred fires that burn continuously during ceremonies, embodying the living spirit of their community. Eternal fires and their meanings. Some native communities hold perpetual fires that never extinguish, symbolizing the unending connection between past, present, and future. These flames represent continuity, resilience, and the survival of traditions despite adversity. Fire as a medium of prayer. In ceremonies, fire acts as a bridge between the earthly world and the spirit realm. Prayers and offerings are given to the fire, which carries them upward to the Creator and ancestors. The role of fire in ceremonies. Fire is central to many rituals, sweat lodges, purification rites, healing ceremonies, and storytelling gatherings. The Beaver Wars and early conflicts. In the 17th century, the fur trade's demand for beaver pelts transformed the political landscape of North America. The Beaver Wars, primarily fought between the Iroquois Confederacy and various neighboring tribes, were brutal conflicts fueled by competition over control of the fur trade routes. Armed with European firearms, the Iroquois aggressively expanded their territory, disrupting centuries-old alliances and reshaping indigenous geopolitics. These wars were more than just battles over resources. They symbolized the profound changes wrought by European colonization. Tribes found themselves caught in new power struggles, often manipulated by European powers seeking allies. The consequences of the Beaver Wars were far-reaching, causing displacement, cultural upheaval, and setting the stage for centuries of conflict. The Trail of Tears. One of the darkest chapters in Native American history, the Trail of Tears refers to the forced relocation of several southeastern tribes, including the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole, following the Indian Removal Act of 1830. Under President Andrew Jackson's administration, these tribes were driven from their ancestral homelands to designated Indian territory west of the Mississippi River. The journey was brutal and deadly. Thousands died from disease, exposure, and starvation during the forced march. This tragedy was not simply an unfortunate event but a calculated act of ethnic cleansing aimed at opening fertile lands to white settlers. The Trail of Tears remains a symbol of broken promises and profound loss. The Plains Wars and Little Bighorn. The Plains Wars, spanning much of the 19th century, were a series of conflicts between the United States government and various native tribes of the Great Plains, including the Sioux, Cheyenne, and Comanche. The discovery of gold in the Black Hills and increasing settler incursions ignited tensions. The Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876 stands as the most famous clash. Led by leaders like Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, native forces delivered a stunning defeat to General Custer's 7th Cavalry. Though a moment of triumph, it also intensified U.S. military campaigns aimed at subduing native resistance. These wars reflected the tragic clash between indigenous sovereignty and American expansionism, forever altering the fate of Plains tribes. The struggle for the Black Hills. The Black Hills, sacred to the Lakota Sioux, became a flashpoint of cultural and political conflict. The 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie had guaranteed the Black Hills to the Sioux, but the discovery of gold led to waves of miners and settlers illegally entering the territory. The U.S. government reneged on its treaty promises, leading to violent confrontations and displacement. The struggle for the Black Hills encapsulates the broader theme of land theft and broken treaties that characterized much of U.S. native relations. Even today, the Black Hills remain a contested symbol of native rights and sovereignty. Broken treaties, words on fragile paper. Throughout history, Treaties signed between native nations and the US government were often ignored or violated. These agreements, meant to protect native lands and rights, became tools of dispossession. Many treaties were signed under duress or through deceptive practices. Boundaries were redrawn, promises made and broken, often without native consent or consultation. This legacy of broken treaties sowed distrust and contributed to cycles of conflict and suffering. The consequences remain today as native communities fight for recognition and justice, demanding that these words on fragile paper be honored. The role of Native Scouts in American wars. Despite the adversities, Native Americans played complex roles in American wars. Many served as scouts, guides, and warriors for U.S. military campaigns, leveraging their knowledge of the land and warrior skills. Native Scouts were vital in frontier battles, navigating difficult terrain and gathering intelligence. Their service was often motivated by alliances, survival, or hope for better treatment. Yet, this service was fraught with tension, as Native Scouts fought against other tribes or for a government that frequently betrayed them. Forts, reservations, and resistance. The establishment of military forts and reservations was a key strategy to control native populations. Reservations were often placed on undesirable lands, disrupting traditional ways of life. Life on reservations was harsh. Forced assimilation policies, poverty, and loss of cultural practices marked daily existence. Yet resistance persisted. Native people maintained cultural practices, organized protests, and sought legal recourse. Forts served both as centers of control and as places where native leaders negotiated and sometimes resisted American policies. The Ghost Dance and Wounded Knee. In the late 19th century, the Ghost Dance movement emerged as a spiritual response to the despair of native communities. It promised the return of ancestors, the renewal of the land, and the retreat of white settlers. The U.S. government viewed the movement as a threat. In 1890, the massacre at Wounded Knee Creek in South Dakota resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Lakota men, women, and children, marking one of the final tragic episodes of the Indian Wars. Wounded Knee became a powerful symbol of native suffering and resistance, a wound that still resonates today. Imprisoned leaders and lost nations. Many native leaders were imprisoned, exiled, or killed during conflicts, robbing communities of guidance and strength. Figures such as Geronimo, Sitting Bull, and Chief Joseph faced capture and harsh treatment. The loss of leaders often led to the fragmentation of nations, forcing many into submission or exile. Despite this, the spirit of leadership continued in new forms, inspiring future generations to fight for rights and recognition. Despite centuries of war, broken promises, and displacement, Native American communities endure. Their survival is a testament to resilience, cultural strength, and adaptation. Today, Native nations continue to revitalize languages, traditions, and sovereignty efforts. They remember the wars and treaties not only as history but as a living legacy, fueling movements for justice and renewal. This legacy challenges the world to acknowledge past wrongs and honor the enduring spirit of the continent's first peoples. Family and clan structures. Family and clan structures formed the very foundation of Native American societies, shaping social organization, governance, and daily life. Many tribes organized themselves around extended families or clans, often matrilineal, meaning lineage and inheritance were traced through the mother's line. This system fostered strong bonds of kinship, cooperation, and collective responsibility. Clans were more than just family groups. They provided identity, social roles, and a support network. In many nations, clan membership influenced marriage choices, leadership eligibility, and spiritual duties. Respect for elders and ancestors was paramount, ensuring the transmission of wisdom and traditions from generation to generation. The clan system created a deep sense of belonging, reinforcing the interconnectedness of individuals with their community, land, and history. Ceremonies of naming and passage. Ceremonies marking the stages of life, from birth to adulthood, were deeply spiritual and communal events. Naming ceremonies, for example, were significant rites where a child was given a name reflecting their spirit, family, or aspirations, often accompanied by prayers and blessings. Passage ceremonies such as puberty rites, vision quests, or warrior initiations symbolized transitions into new social roles and responsibilities. These rituals connected individuals to their ancestors and the natural world, reinforcing cultural values and personal identity. Such ceremonies were not only personal milestones but communal celebrations that strengthened the social fabric and honored the sacred journey of life. The art of weaving and pottery. Artisanship was highly developed in many native cultures, with weaving and pottery standing out as essential crafts. Weaving produced intricate textiles like blankets, robes, and clothing, often decorated with symbolic patterns reflecting tribal stories and spiritual beliefs. Pottery served practical and ceremonial purposes, with vessels used for cooking, storage, and ritual offerings. The designs and shapes were unique to each tribe and conveyed cultural identity. These crafts were taught through generations, blending utility with artistry. They embodied connection to the land, as materials were carefully sourced from nature, and the making process was often accompanied by songs and prayers. Sacred feathers and regalia. Feathers held profound spiritual significance, symbolizing honor, courage, and connection to the Creator. Many tribes regarded specific feathers, like eagle feathers, as sacred gifts that could only be earned through brave deeds or service. Regalia, the traditional clothing and adornments worn during ceremonies and dances, were masterpieces of symbolism. Every bead, color, and pattern carried meaning related to the wearer's clan, achievements, or spiritual journey. These items were treated with great reverence, often passed down as heirlooms, and their creation involved prayers and rituals, reinforcing cultural continuity. The role of storytellers. Storytellers were the keepers of history, culture, and morality. Through oral tradition, they preserved the collective memory of tribes, sharing stories of creation, heroes, lessons, and warnings. Their narratives were rich with metaphor, teaching values such as respect for nature, bravery, and community harmony. Storytelling was a communal event, blending entertainment with education, often accompanied by music, dance, or visual art. In societies without written language, storytellers ensured the survival of knowledge, identity, and wisdom across generations. Hunting, gathering, and harmony. Sustenance was intricately tied to respect for nature and sustainable practices. Hunting and gathering were not merely survival activities but were guided by spiritual beliefs emphasizing balance and gratitude. Hunters followed rituals before and after the kill, honoring the animal's spirit and asking for forgiveness. Gathering plants and roots involved knowledge passed down through elders about seasons, locations, and medicinal uses. This harmony ensured resources were not depleted and relationships with the environment remained reciprocal and respectful, a worldview central to indigenous lifeways. Songs that echo through time. Songs played a vital role in cultural expression, spiritual practice, and community cohesion. They ranged from lullabies and work songs to ceremonial chants invoking protection, healing, or blessings. Songs were often tied to stories, dances, or rituals, serving as vessels of history and emotion. The melodies and rhythms reflected the natural world, the wind, animals, and seasons, and carried the collective spirit of the people. Through song, generations connected, healing was facilitated, and the sacred was honored. Dance as prayer. Dance was a powerful form of prayer and communication with the spiritual world. Each movement and step held meaning, expressing stories, gratitude, or requests for guidance. Ceremonial dances often involved the whole community and were linked to seasonal cycles, hunting success, or healing rituals. Dancers wore regalia that symbolized their intentions and ancestral connections. The rhythmic beating of drums accompanied the dance, grounding participants in the moment and reinforcing communal bonds and spiritual presence. Spirit animals and totems. Spirit animals and totems were integral to identity and spirituality. Many tribes believed that each person was connected to one or more animal spirits that guided, protected, and influenced their life path. Totems, often represented as carvings or symbols, stood as clan emblems or spiritual guardians. They served as reminders of the qualities and lessons the animal spirit embodied: strength, wisdom, courage, or cunning. These connections fostered respect for all creatures and reinforced the belief in the interconnectedness of all life. The meaning of dreams. Dreams were considered powerful messages from the spirit world. They offered guidance, warnings, and insights into one's path or the community's well-being. Dream interpretation was a respected practice, often involving elders or spiritual leaders. Vision quests, a form of spiritual journey, relied heavily on dreams to receive personal revelations or divine instruction. Dreams bridged the physical and spiritual realms, shaping decisions, healing practices, and cultural teachings. Wisdom of the elders, philosophies, and values. In the vast tapestry of Native American life, the wisdom of the elders forms the golden thread that holds everything together. Elders are revered as living libraries, keepers of stories, history, law, and spiritual insight. Their teachings encompass the profound philosophies and values that guide individuals and communities alike, sustaining balance, harmony, and resilience through centuries of change and challenge. This chapter explores the core principles and timeless lessons passed down through generations, revealing a worldview deeply connected to nature, community, and the spirit. Harmony with nature. At the heart of indigenous wisdom lies an unwavering respect for the natural world. The elders teach that humans are not separate from nature but part of an intricate web of life. Every living being, animal, plant, river, mountain, is connected, and all deserve reverence. Harmony with nature means living in balance, taking only what is needed, and giving back through rituals and stewardship. This philosophy contrasts sharply with exploitative attitudes seen in other cultures. For elders, the land is sacred, a living entity that sustains life and must be protected. The concept is not merely ecological, it is spiritual. The wind, the sun, the rain, they are all relatives with whom one must maintain a respectful relationship. When harmony is lost, sickness, famine, and conflict arise, reminding us of the importance of this ancient pact with the earth. The circle of life. Elders teach that life is cyclical, reflected in the seasons, moon phases, and human experiences. The circle symbolizes unity, continuity, and interconnectedness. Birth, growth, death, and rebirth form an eternal cycle, mirrored in the natural world. Many rituals, ceremonies, and symbols incorporate the circle to represent wholeness. For instance, the medicine wheel, a sacred circle divided into 4 quadrants representing directions, elements, and stages of life, embodies this worldview. Understanding the circle helps individuals accept change, loss, and renewal as natural and necessary. It fosters humility and patience, as all things come and go in their time, urging respect for the rhythms of life. Lessons from the wind. The wind carries messages, stories, and spirit. Elders often speak of the wind as a teacher, whispering secrets and wisdom to those who listen closely. It is unpredictable yet constant, powerful yet gentle, offering lessons in adaptability and resilience. The wind teaches humility. We cannot control everything, but we can learn to move with change gracefully. It reminds people of their small place in the vast universe and the need to remain open and humble. Many stories speak of the wind's role in shaping the earth and life. By observing the wind, its direction, and changes, elders imparted survival knowledge, how to find weather patterns, anticipate storms, or seek new hunting grounds. Generosity and community. Generosity is a cornerstone of indigenous philosophy. Elders emphasize that wealth is not measured in possessions but in relationships and the willingness to share. The community's well-being depends on mutual aid, compassion, and generosity. In many tribes, potlatch ceremonies showcase generosity where leaders gave away goods to guests, strengthening social bonds and redistributing resources. This practice fostered equality and prevented hoarding. Elders teach that generosity creates a cycle of abundance. When you give freely, you invite blessings in return. It also reinforces trust and solidarity, essential for communal survival, especially in harsh environments. The sacred fire within. Fire symbolizes life force, spirit, and transformation. Elders often describe a sacred fire burning within every person, the inner light of courage, wisdom, and vitality. This fire must be nurtured through prayer, reflection, and good deeds. It guides individuals in making choices aligned with their highest values and helps withstand adversity. Fire also connects people to their ancestors and the spiritual realm. Ceremonial fires are places of gathering, healing, and renewal. The sacred fire is a metaphor for the enduring spirit of a people, constantly rekindled despite hardship. The 7 Grandfather Teachings. Among the most renowned wisdom traditions are the 7 Grandfather Teachings: love, respect, courage, honesty, wisdom, humility, and truth. These teachings are moral guides that direct how to live a good and balanced life. Love teaches compassion for all beings. Respect calls for honor toward oneself, others, and nature. Courage encourages standing up for what is right. Honesty requires truthfulness in word and deed. Wisdom is the ability to make sound decisions. Humility reminds us of our place within the larger whole. Truth is the foundation of trust and integrity. Elders pass these teachings through stories, ceremonies, and personal example, encouraging each generation to embody these values. The Great Law of Peace. The Great Law of Peace, especially associated with the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, Iroquois, is one of the oldest democratic systems in the world. Elders uphold this law as a model of governance based on unity, peace, and collective decision-making. It teaches the importance of listening with an open heart, seeking consensus, and resolving conflict through dialogue and respect. The law emphasizes that leaders serve their people, not themselves, and decisions must consider the welfare of future generations. This philosophy profoundly influenced later democratic ideas, reflecting indigenous contributions to political thought rooted in peace and cooperation. Silence as strength. Silence is not merely absence of sound but a powerful state of presence. Elders teach that listening in silence opens one to deeper understanding and connection. In many ceremonies, moments of silence allow individuals to reflect, hear the spirit world, or honor ancestors. Silence is also a form of respect, allowing others to speak and be heard. This teaching encourages patience and mindfulness, reminding that not all wisdom is spoken aloud. Strength lies in knowing when to speak and when to listen. Time as a spiral, not a line. Unlike Western linear time concepts, many indigenous philosophies view time as cyclical or spiral-like. Elders explain that events repeat in patterns, but each cycle brings growth and new insights. This understanding changes how history and life are perceived, not as a straight path but a series of interconnected moments where past, present, and future influence each other. Seeing time as a spiral encourages learning from ancestors while adapting to changing circumstances. It nurtures hope, resilience, and a sense of belonging beyond immediate experience. Listening to the ancestors. The ancestors' voices are never truly silent. Elders teach that by listening carefully to dreams, signs, stories, and ceremonies, people remain connected to their heritage and guidance. This connection to ancestors provides strength during hardship, clarity in decision-making, and continuity of identity. Ancestors are honored not only as memories but as active participants in the community's spiritual life. Through rituals, prayer, and storytelling, the wisdom of ancestors flows into present and future generations, ensuring survival beyond physical life. The wisdom of the elders is a living legacy, rich with profound philosophies and values that nurture harmony, respect, and resilience. These teachings remind us that life is interconnected, that every action echoes in the future, and that true strength lies in humility, community, and reverence for the natural and spiritual worlds. Native American heroes and heroines. Throughout history, Native American communities have been shaped and inspired by remarkable individuals whose courage, wisdom, and spirit have left an indelible mark on their people and the broader world. These heroes and heroines embody the resilience, leadership, and profound cultural contributions of indigenous peoples across centuries. From visionary warriors to peace advocates, from cultural icons to modern-day voices, their stories reflect the diversity and strength of Native America. This chapter celebrates their lives and legacies. Tecumseh, the visionary warrior. Tecumseh, a Shawnee leader born around 1768, remains one of the most iconic Native American figures in history. He was a visionary who sought to unite disparate tribes into a confederation capable of resisting the relentless encroachment of European settlers on indigenous lands. Tecumseh's dream was not only about defense but about restoring indigenous sovereignty and culture. Known for his eloquence and strategic mind, Tecumseh traveled widely, rallying tribes from the Great Lakes to the Southern Plains. His leadership was marked by a deep commitment to unity and dignity, recognizing that survival depended on cooperation rather than division. Tecumseh's alliance with the British during the War of 1812 was part of his broader strategy to protect native lands. Though he died in battle in 1813, his vision endured, inspiring future generations who continue to honor his commitment to indigenous rights and sovereignty. Sacagawea, the guide and mother. Sacagawea, a Lemhi Shoshone woman born around 1788, is renowned for her role as a guide and interpreter during the Lewis and Clark expedition. At just a teenager, traveling with her infant son, she provided invaluable knowledge of the land, plants, and native tribes, facilitating communication and safe passage for the explorers. Sacagawea's presence symbolized peace and goodwill, helping to establish trust with various native nations encountered along the way. Her resilience in the face of hardship, kidnapped as a child, married young, and thrust into a daunting expedition, speaks to the strength and courage of indigenous women. More than just a historical figure, Sacagawea has become a symbol of Native American contribution to the nation's story, reminding us of the vital roles women play in leadership, survival, and cultural transmission. Sitting Bull, the dreamer of resistance. Sitting Bull, born in the early 1830s, was a Hunkpapa Lakota leader and spiritual figure whose leadership during the resistance against U.S. expansion remains legendary. Known for his vision and deep spiritual insight, Sitting Bull guided his people through tumultuous times, including the Battle of the Little Bighorn in 1876, a stunning victory against General Custer's forces. His name means slow strider, reflecting his thoughtful and measured approach. Sitting Bull was not only a warrior but also a healer and prophet, embodying the spiritual strength that sustained his people. Forced into exile in Canada after the battles, Sitting Bull later returned to the U.S., where he continued advocating for native rights until his death in 1890. His legacy endures as a symbol of resilience, courage, and the fight for indigenous sovereignty. Geronimo, the spirit that wouldn't break. Geronimo, born as Goyali around 1829, was a leader of the Apache tribe, known for his fierce resistance against Mexico and the United States. His life story is one of unyielding spirit and determination to protect his people's way of life amid violent pressures to surrender land. Despite repeated military campaigns against him, Geronimo evaded capture for years, becoming a legendary figure symbolizing defiance and survival. His tactical brilliance and intimate knowledge of the harsh southwestern terrain allowed him to outmaneuver opponents many times. Even after surrendering in 1886, Geronimo remained a complex figure, sometimes a prisoner of war, sometimes a performer sharing his culture, yet never losing the fierce pride and identity that defined his life. His story is a testament to the enduring strength of indigenous resistance. Chief Joseph, the voice of peace. Chief Joseph, leader of the Nez Perce tribe, is remembered for his eloquent advocacy for peace and justice. Born in 1840, he faced relentless pressure from the U.S. government to relocate his people from their ancestral lands in the Pacific Northwest. Unlike many who chose war, Chief Joseph sought peaceful solutions but was ultimately forced into a tragic retreat known as the Nez Perce War of 1877. Leading his people over 1,000 miles in a strategic retreat, he sought safety in Canada but was eventually captured. His surrender speech, expressing heartbreak and dignity, "I will fight no more forever," echoes as a powerful plea for respect and justice. Chief Joseph's life exemplifies leadership grounded in compassion, resilience, and a profound desire for peace. Crazy Horse, the Silent Lightning. Crazy Horse, a Lakota war leader born around 1840, is celebrated for his fierce defense of native lands and way of life. Known for his stealth and bravery, he played a crucial role in resisting U.S. military forces during the Plains Wars, including the victory at Little Bighorn. His name reflects his swift, silent fighting style, striking like lightning without warning. Crazy Horse was deeply spiritual, committed to his people's traditions and freedom. Despite offers of peace, he remained steadfast in resistance until his death in 1877. Crazy Horse's legacy endures as a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to indigenous sovereignty. Wilma Mankiller, first woman chief. Wilma Mankiller, born in 1945, broke barriers as the first female principal chief of the Cherokee Nation. Her leadership transformed the tribe during a critical period, focusing on health, education, and self-governance. Mankiller's story is one of perseverance. Growing up in poverty and facing discrimination, she became an activist and advocate for Native rights and women's empowerment. Her tenure as chief was marked by inclusive leadership, emphasizing community-driven development. She inspired countless Indigenous women and leaders worldwide, proving that strength and wisdom transcend gender. Vine Deloria Jr., the Native scholar. Vine Deloria Jr., born in 1933, was a groundbreaking scholar, theologian, and activist who reshaped Native American studies and Indigenous rights discourse. His writings challenged stereotypes and advocated for sovereignty, cultural revitalization, and legal reform. Deloria's works, including Custodied for Your Sins, remain foundational texts that sparked new awareness and activism during the civil rights era and beyond. As a member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, he bridged academia and activism, empowering Native voices in policy, law, and culture. His legacy is a testament to the power of intellect and passion in the fight for justice. Maria Tall Chief, the prima ballerina. Maria Tall Chief, born in 1925, was America's first major prima ballerina of Native American heritage. As a member of the Osage Nation, she rose to international fame, breaking cultural and racial barriers in the classical arts. Her extraordinary talent and grace captivated audiences worldwide. Tall Chief helped elevate ballet in the United States and open doors for future Native artists in diverse fields. Her legacy celebrates the richness of Indigenous culture's contributions to the arts and challenges narrow definitions of identity and excellence. Contemporary Native voices. Today, Native American heroes and heroines continue to shape culture, politics, and social justice. Contemporary figures like Deb Haaland, the first Native American U.S. Secretary of the Interior, and activists like Winona LaDuke and Amanda Blackhorse carry forward the legacy of resilience and advocacy. Artists, writers, scientists, and leaders keep Indigenous knowledge and values alive, addressing issues such as environmental justice, cultural preservation, and sovereignty. Their voices affirm that Native Americans are not relics of the past but dynamic contributors to the future, shaping the world with wisdom rooted in ancient traditions and modern innovation. The stories of Native American heroes and heroines reflect a rich mosaic of strength, vision, and enduring spirit. From legendary warriors to modern leaders, their lives teach lessons of courage, resilience, peace, and creativity. By honoring these figures, we recognize the profound contributions of Indigenous peoples to history and the ongoing journey toward justice, identity, and cultural pride. Rebirth, struggle, and sovereignty. The history of Native Americans in the modern era is marked by deep challenges and inspiring resilience. Following centuries of displacement, cultural disruption, and marginalization, Native peoples have fought tirelessly for their rights, cultural survival, and political sovereignty. This chapter explores the ongoing journey of rebirth and struggle, highlighting key events, movements, and cultural revitalizations that have shaped Native America's path towards self-determination and justice. Boarding schools and lost languages. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the establishment of Indian boarding schools across the United States and Canada, institutions designed to assimilate Native children into Euro-American culture forcibly. These schools, such as the Carlisle Indian Industrial School founded in 1879, aimed to erase Indigenous identities by forbidding Native languages, spiritual practices, and cultural expressions. Children were often taken far from their families, subjected to harsh discipline, and punished for speaking their native tongues. This systematic suppression led to the tragic loss of countless Indigenous languages and cultural knowledge, leaving deep scars on communities and families. However, despite these efforts, many survivors maintained secret cultural practices and passed down stories orally. The boarding school experience is a painful chapter in Native history, but also a testament to the enduring spirit of resistance and survival. The Indian Citizenship Act. Passed in 1924, The Indian Citizenship Act was a landmark federal law granting U.S. citizenship to all Native Americans born in the United States. While this legislation recognized Native Americans as citizens, it was a double-edged sword. Citizenship was not a blanket guarantee of civil rights. Many states still denied Native Americans the right to vote for decades afterward, and issues of sovereignty remained unresolved. For many, the act was seen as a government strategy to assimilate indigenous peoples further rather than a genuine step toward equality. Still, this law marked a significant milestone in Native American legal history and became a foundation for future political activism and rights movements. The fight for fishing and hunting rights. For many Native nations, hunting, fishing, and gathering are not just economic activities but sacred rights tied to identity, spirituality, and survival. In the 20th century, many tribes faced government regulations that severely restricted these rights, leading to conflicts and legal battles. One notable example is the Bolt decision of 1974, which reaffirmed Native American treaty rights to fish in traditional waters in Washington state, recognizing them as co-managers of fisheries. This legal victory was hard-fought and remains a cornerstone of indigenous resource rights. The struggle over natural resources highlights ongoing tensions between native sovereignty, environmental stewardship, and state or federal authority. It also underscores indigenous peoples' role as protectors of the land and its bounty. Red Power and the 1970s movements. The 1960s and 1970s were a time of political awakening for Native Americans, inspired by the broader civil rights movement. The Red Power movement emerged as a powerful expression of indigenous activism, focusing on sovereignty, self-determination, and cultural pride. Groups like the American Indian Movement, AIM, advocated for native rights through protests, legal challenges, and direct action. They demanded an end to discrimination, better living conditions, and respect for treaties. This era saw significant events such as the occupation of Alcatraz Island, 1969 to 1971, which drew national attention to native struggles and sparked renewed cultural pride and political energy. The siege at Wounded Knee, 1973. Perhaps one of the most dramatic moments of the Red Power movement was the 1973 occupation of Wounded Knee, South Dakota. Activists from AIM and Oglala Lakota members seized the town in protest against the corruption of tribal leadership and the U.S. government's failure to honor treaties. The siege lasted 71 days, involving armed standoff and negotiations under tense conditions. It brought global awareness to native grievances, including poverty, political disenfranchisement, and broken promises. Although controversial, the Wounded Knee occupation remains a symbol of resistance and a turning point in Native American activism, emphasizing the demand for sovereignty and justice. Powwows and cultural reawakening. As political activism surged, so did cultural revitalization. Powwows, traditional gatherings featuring dance, music, and ceremony, became vibrant centers of community and identity. Powwows serve not only as celebrations but as spaces where generations reconnect with heritage, language, and values. They promote healing, pride, and cultural continuity. Across the United States and Canada, powwows grew in number and visibility, helping restore traditions disrupted by centuries of colonization and oppression. These gatherings reinforce a powerful message: native cultures are alive and flourishing. Language revitalization movements. The devastating loss of indigenous languages due to boarding schools and cultural suppression sparked movements to revive and preserve these vital elements of identity. Communities initiated language immersion programs, created dictionaries, and integrated language learning into schools. Technology has played a role, with apps, online courses, and media supporting language use among younger generations. Language revitalization is more than communication. It is reclaiming worldview, knowledge systems, and connection to ancestors. It is a powerful act of cultural rebirth and resistance against assimilation. The role of native media. Native media outlets emerged as crucial platforms to share stories, perspectives, and issues often ignored or misrepresented in mainstream media. Radio stations, newspapers, and more recently digital media provide voices for native communities, promote cultural programming, and facilitate political discourse. These media initiatives strengthen community bonds, educate wider audiences, and empower indigenous peoples to control their narratives and advocate for their rights. Environmental guardianship. Many native communities view themselves as stewards of the earth, inheriting a sacred responsibility to protect natural resources and biodiversity. This worldview has positioned indigenous peoples at the forefront of environmental activism, defending land and water against pollution, extraction, and climate change. Projects like the Standing Rock protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline demonstrate native leadership in environmental justice, combining traditional knowledge with modern advocacy. Environmental guardianship reflects an ongoing commitment to balance, respect, and sustainability, core values in indigenous philosophies. Legal battles and modern sovereignty. The quest for sovereignty and self-determination remains central to Native American life today. Tribes engage in ongoing legal battles to assert treaty rights, jurisdiction, and control over resources. Land claims, gaming rights, and jurisdictional authority are contested issues in courts and legislatures. Despite challenges, tribes have made significant strides in governance, economic development, and cultural preservation. Modern sovereignty is a dynamic process, balancing tradition with contemporary realities, and reaffirming native peoples' right to govern themselves and maintain their identities. Got it? You want heading 10. Legends that live on, with each subheading expanded into a 3,000-word script, for a total of about 30,000 words. Legends that live on. The White Buffalo Prophecy. Among the many sacred stories cherished by Native American cultures, the White Buffalo Prophecy holds a particularly revered place. This prophecy, deeply rooted in Lakota tradition, speaks of a time when a rare white buffalo calf would be born, a sign that peace and harmony would be restored to the world. The legend transcends the bounds of mere myth, symbolizing hope, renewal, and spiritual awakening. Origins and significance. The white buffalo is not just an animal but a symbol of sacredness and balance. To the Lakota people, the buffalo represents abundance and the interconnectedness of all life. The birth of a white buffalo calf is exceedingly rare, and its appearance is believed to signal a turning point, a moment when the world might heal from its divisions and suffering. In Lakota oral tradition, the white buffalo calf woman is a central figure who brought the sacred pipe and teachings to the people, teaching them how to live in harmony with the earth. According to the prophecy, the birth of the white buffalo calf foretells a time when the old ways of respect, peace, and unity will return. The prophecy's message. The White Buffalo Prophecy serves as a spiritual beacon, reminding people to honor the earth, respect each other, and embrace peace. It calls for a renewal of sacred values that have been lost or overshadowed by conflict and materialism. The prophecy encourages communities to listen to the signs of nature and to live with reverence and care. In the modern era, the birth of several white buffalo calves has been met with awe and celebration, regarded as a powerful spiritual affirmation. These calves inspire not only native communities but also those seeking healing and balance in a fractured world. The spiritual teachings behind the legend. At the heart of this legend lies the sacred pipe, given by the white buffalo calf woman, which embodies a connection between the physical and spiritual worlds. The pipe represents prayer, respect, and unity. The teachings emphasize living a life of humility, generosity, and harmony with nature. The prophecy and its teachings invite all people to look beyond cultural differences and recognize their shared humanity. It is a call for global healing, grounded in indigenous wisdom and spirituality. The white buffalo in contemporary culture. Beyond traditional circles, the White Buffalo Prophecy has influenced broader cultural and spiritual movements. It is often referenced in discussions about environmentalism, peace activism, and indigenous rights. The legend's message resonates deeply in a world facing ecological crises and social unrest. Artists, writers, and leaders invoke the symbol of the white buffalo to inspire hope and remind humanity of the sacredness of life. It stands as a timeless reminder that renewal and transformation are always possible. Starting now with the return of the sacred pipe. The sacred pipe, or Chinunpa in the Lakota language, holds an unparalleled place in Native American spirituality. It is not merely an object but a profound symbol of connection between the Creator, the earth, and all living beings. The story of the return of the sacred pipe is deeply interwoven with themes of loss, renewal, and the reclaiming of sacred traditions that colonialism and modernity sought to suppress. The sacred pipe, its origins and spiritual significance. The sacred pipe was brought to the Lakota people by the white buffalo calf woman, a divine messenger who imparted the teachings of peace, harmony, and respect. The pipe itself is a living embodiment of prayer. Its bowl represents the earth, and the stem represents the sky. When smoked, the rising smoke carries prayers to the Creator, bridging the physical and spiritual worlds. The pipe ceremony is a central spiritual practice among many Plains tribes and beyond, serving as a communal ritual that reinforces values of unity, healing, and gratitude. The loss of the sacred pipe. With the arrival of European settlers and the imposition of colonial rule, many native spiritual practices were outlawed or discouraged. Sacred objects like the pipe were confiscated or hidden away to avoid desecration. This loss was not only physical but symbolic, a severing of the spiritual lifeline that connected native peoples to their ancestors and the natural world. In many communities, the pipe disappeared from public rituals for generations, replaced by the struggle to survive amid forced assimilation and displacement. The spiritual and cultural reawakening. The 20th century saw a powerful resurgence of native spirituality, fueled by cultural pride and political activism. The return of the sacred pipe represents this revitalization, a reclaiming of spiritual heritage and identity. Restoring the pipe ceremonies involved recovering oral histories, rebuilding community knowledge, and reaffirming sacred connections. It became a symbol of resistance against cultural erasure and a source of healing for individuals and tribes alike. The pipe's role in healing and unity today. In contemporary native communities, the pipe ceremony is often performed during significant events, births, deaths, treaties, and community gatherings. It acts as a reminder of sacred responsibilities to one another and the earth. The return and revitalization of pipe ceremonies have strengthened communal bonds and provided spiritual sustenance amid ongoing challenges. Moreover, the sacred pipe has also become a symbol recognized outside native communities, fostering interfaith dialogue and broader respect for indigenous wisdom. Stories of the pipe's return. Across tribes, there are stories of pipes being rediscovered, sometimes hidden for decades, and ceremonially returned to their rightful place. Elders recount the powerful emotions of witnessing the pipe's reappearance, often seen as a spiritual gift from ancestors urging the people to remember their roots. In some accounts, the return of the pipe coincided with moments of cultural renewal, treaty negotiations, or healing after conflict, reinforcing its role as a living, breathing symbol of life and hope. The sacred pipe as a living legacy. Today, the sacred pipe continues to inspire native peoples to live by the principles it embodies: respect, humility, balance, and connection. The pipe ceremony invites all participants into a sacred space of reflection and prayer, reminding them of their place within a greater whole. Its return is not simply the restoration of an artifact but the revival of a worldview, one that holds life as sacred and interconnected. The Great Star People Myth. The Great Star People myth is a powerful and enduring story among many Native American tribes, especially within the Plains and Southwestern cultures. It weaves together cosmic wonder, spiritual guidance, and the deep connection between the people and the stars above, a celestial heritage that speaks to identity, origin, and destiny. Origins of the myth. The Great Star People are believed to be ancestral beings from the stars who came to Earth to teach humans the sacred laws of life. According to the myth, these star beings brought wisdom, culture, and knowledge that shaped the spiritual and social foundations of the tribes. Different tribes have their own versions of the story, but the core theme remains. The Star People are messengers of the cosmos, guiding the people through the darkness with light, knowledge, and spiritual insight. Star People as teachers and guardians. In the myth, the Star People are often depicted as guardians who watch over humanity, offering lessons on how to live in harmony with nature and the universe. They are associated with ceremonies, songs, and rituals that connect the earthly realm to the cosmos. The Star People's guidance is seen as essential for maintaining balance and understanding the cycles of life, seasons, and celestial events. Symbolism in the sky. The night sky, filled with constellations and planets, is a map of spiritual significance. Many native cultures see the movements of stars as messages or signals from the star people. For example, the Pleiades cluster is often linked with stories of origin and renewal, while the Milky Way is considered a spiritual pathway. The Great Star People myth encourages people to observe the stars not just as physical bodies, but as living entities with stories and teachings. Connection to creation and destiny. The myth also ties into broader themes of creation and destiny. The Star People are sometimes described as the ones who helped create the earth or gifted humans with life's essentials: fire, corn, or the sacred pipe. They remind the people that their origins are cosmic, and that their futures are intertwined with the movements of the universe. This cosmic connection fosters a sense of belonging that transcends time and space. Contemporary relevance. Today, the Great Star People myth continues to inspire native artists, storytellers, and spiritual leaders. It is a source of cultural pride and spiritual resilience, reminding communities of their ancient ties to the cosmos. The story invites younger generations to explore their heritage, encouraging a revival of traditional star knowledge alongside modern astronomy. This blending of ancient myth and modern science enriches cultural identity and strengthens the bonds between past and present. The Great Star People in popular culture. The myth has also found resonance beyond native communities, influencing literature, art, and music. It has sparked interest in indigenous cosmologies worldwide and encouraged respect for the sophisticated astronomical knowledge held by native peoples. This wider appreciation highlights the importance of preserving such stories, not only as folklore but as profound worldviews that offer wisdom about humanity's place in the universe. Why the Bear Walks Alone. The story of Why the Bear Walks Alone is a deeply symbolic legend told in many Native American cultures, each with its own variations, yet all conveying profound lessons about individuality, strength, and the balance between solitude and community. This tale not only explains a natural phenomenon, the solitary nature of the bear, but also offers a metaphor for human behavior, spirituality, and the sacred journey of self-discovery. The bear as a symbol. In native traditions, the bear holds a special place as a powerful animal spirit, representing courage, healing, introspection, and a deep connection to the earth. Bears are often seen as guardians of sacred knowledge and medicine, their solitary behavior symbolizing the necessary moments of reflection and personal growth that all beings must undergo. The bear's solitary walk is a reminder that sometimes strength comes from within, and that solitude can be a sacred path to wisdom. The legend's origins. One common version of the legend describes how, long ago, all animals lived and traveled together in harmony. They hunted, celebrated, and faced dangers as a community. The bear, once a part of this collective, was known for its fierce loyalty and protective nature. However, as time passed, the bear began to feel a deep need for solitude, a calling from the spirit world to walk a path alone. This caused confusion and sadness among the other animals, who wondered why the bear chose isolation over companionship. The spiritual journey. The bear's journey into solitude is often depicted as a rite of passage, a spiritual quest to find balance between the external world and the inner self. It is said that during long solitary walks, the bear gains insight into the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, connecting with the Great Spirit in ways others cannot. This solitude is not a rejection of community but a necessary phase to gather strength, heal, and prepare for times when the bear's power will be needed most. Lessons for humanity. The tale encourages humans to respect moments of solitude as vital for self-awareness and healing. It teaches that while community and relationships are essential, individuals must sometimes step away to reflect, meditate, and reconnect with their true nature. The bear's solitary walk symbolizes the balance between being part of the whole and honoring one's personal journey. Cultural practices inspired by the bear. Many native ceremonies honor the bear as a spirit guide for healing and transformation. Vision quests, a traditional practice where individuals spend time alone in nature seeking spiritual guidance, often invoke the bear's spirit. Medicine men and women call upon the bear's energy to assist with physical and emotional healing, recognizing the animal's strength and deep wisdom. Modern interpretations. Today, the story of Why the Bear Walks Alone continues to resonate, inspiring those who seek independence without losing connection to their roots. It reminds people of the importance of solitude in a busy world and encourages the embracing of personal journeys with courage and grace. Artists, writers, and storytellers keep this legend alive, passing its message to new generations who find in the bear's solitary walk a metaphor for their own quests for meaning. The echoes of the drums. In Native American culture, drums are far more than musical instruments. They are sacred tools that connect the physical world to the spiritual realm. The echoes of the drums carry the heartbeat of the earth and the rhythm of life itself. This story explores the profound meaning behind the drum's sound, its role in ceremony, and why the echoes of the drums continue to resonate through time. The drum's sacred heartbeat. The drum is often called the heartbeat of Mother Earth. Its deep, resonant beats symbolize the pulse that connects all living beings. The echo of the drumbeat reminds people of their place in the universe and their relationship with nature. In many traditions, drumming is a way to call spirits, heal bodies and minds, and create harmony between humans and the natural world. Origins of the drum. According to legend, the first drum was created by the Creator who gave it a soul made of the earth and sky. The drum's skin was said to come from the sacred buffalo, an animal revered for its generosity and strength. The drum's beat was the first sound to reverberate across the lands, awakening life and binding people together. The echo as a bridge. The echo of the drum is seen as a bridge between the material world and the spirit world. When the drum beats, its sound travels far and wide, reaching ancestors, spirit guides, and all beings who listen. This echo is a call to remember ancient wisdom and a reminder that the past and present are connected. Drums in ceremony. Drums are central in countless ceremonies, healing rituals, dances, powwows, and spiritual gatherings. The rhythm guides the movement of dancers, synchronizing their steps with the heartbeat of the universe. The echo created in open spaces or sacred places enhances the spiritual power, enveloping participants in a shared experience of connection and reverence. The healing power of drum echoes. The reverberation of the drumbeat is believed to cleanse negative energy and restore balance. Shamans and healers use the drum to enter trance states, journeying to other realms for guidance and intervention. The echoes help to realign the body's energies and connect the spirit with the forces of nature. The drum's echo in storytelling. Echoes of drums often accompany stories passed down through generations, amplifying the emotions and lessons within. The sound helps keep traditions alive, anchoring oral histories with rhythm and resonance. When the drums beat, listeners feel the presence of ancestors and the continuation of life's sacred cycle. Modern resonance. In contemporary native communities, drums still hold their sacred role. Youth learn the art of drumming and the significance behind each beat, ensuring that the echoes of the drums will continue to inspire and unite future generations. Drum circles and festivals bring together people to celebrate identity, healing, and resilience, honoring the enduring spirit of the drums. Symbolism of the drum echo. The echo teaches patience and mindfulness. Each beat lingers and fades, reminding listeners that life's moments are precious and interconnected. The drum's echo embodies the idea that actions and words reverberate beyond their origin, influencing communities and the natural world. The drum and the circle of life. Finally, the echo symbolizes the cyclical nature of existence. Just as the drumbeat returns again and again, life moves in cycles of birth, growth, death, and renewal. The echoes inspire a deeper understanding of life's rhythms and the importance of walking gently on the earth. The spirit of the mountain. Mountains have always held a sacred place in Native American spirituality and culture. They are seen not just as physical landmarks but as living, breathing beings, guardians and teachers whose presence commands respect and awe. The spirit of the mountain is a profound concept that embodies wisdom, strength, endurance, and a connection to the divine. This script explores how Native American peoples honor mountains, the legends that surround them, and the role mountains play in sustaining spiritual life. The sacred nature of mountains. For many Native American tribes, mountains are considered sacred beings that hold the spirit of ancestors and powerful natural forces. These towering formations are viewed as the backbone of the world, connecting the earth to the sky. The spirit of the mountain is believed to be a guardian watching over the land and its people, protecting the balance of life and offering guidance. Mountains as spiritual teachers. Mountains teach patience and resilience. Their immovable strength through the ages symbolizes the endurance needed to face life's challenges. Native traditions often describe the spirit of the mountain as a wise elder who communicates through the wind, rocks, and shadows cast by the peaks. Legends of the spirit of the mountain. Many tribes have stories explaining how mountains came to be and how their spirits interact with humans. Some tales tell of powerful beings who transformed into mountains to watch over their people. In one legend, a mountain spirit sacrificed itself to protect a village from disaster, becoming a permanent guardian watching silently over the land. Mountains and vision quests. Mountains are often the chosen places for vision quests, rites of passage where young people seek spiritual insight and connection with their inner selves and the universe. The spirit of the mountain is invoked during these quests to provide clarity, strength, and direction. The role of mountains in ceremony. Ceremonies conducted on or near mountains are believed to hold special power. The elevation brings people closer to the sky spirits, amplifying prayers and intentions. Songs, dances, and offerings made at mountain sites are acts of respect and requests for continued protection. The mountain as a source of life. Beyond spirituality, mountains provide life-sustaining resources, fresh water, medicinal plants, and hunting grounds. The spirit of the mountain embodies the generosity of nature and the responsibility of humans to care for the land. This reciprocal relationship is central to Native American environmental stewardship. Mountains in art and symbolism. Mountain imagery frequently appears in Native American art, weaving together physical beauty and spiritual significance. Patterns and motifs representing mountains remind communities of their origins, strength, and connection to the natural world. The echo of mountain spirits today. Even in modern times, mountains continue to inspire reverence and cultural identity among native peoples. Efforts to protect sacred mountain lands from industrial threats reflect ongoing respect for the spirit of the mountain and its vital role in cultural survival. Mountains and healing. The mountain environment is often seen as a place of healing, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Spending time on the mountain, listening to its quiet strength, is believed to restore balance and bring peace. The spirit's call to future generations. The spirit of the mountain teaches the importance of honoring the earth and living in harmony with all beings. Its silent watch encourages future generations to protect sacred places and maintain the spiritual and ecological health of the land. Water beings and river spirits. Water is one of the most vital and sacred elements in Native American cultures. Rivers, lakes, and springs are not merely sources of life but are inhabited by powerful beings and spirits that embody the essence of water itself. The belief in water beings and river spirits reflects the deep connection Native peoples have with nature's rhythms and the respect they hold for water as a living force. This script delves into the spiritual significance, legends, and ongoing cultural importance of these water entities. The sacredness of water. Water is seen as a life-giver, purifier, and connector of worlds, the physical and spiritual realms. Many Native American tribes honor water as a sacred gift from the Creator. Water beings, also called water spirits or water guardians, are often depicted as powerful entities who protect the purity and balance of waterways. Types of water spirits. Across different tribes, water spirits take various forms. Some are benevolent, helping with healing and guidance, while others may be tricksters or protectors who challenge humans to respect the water. For example, the Ojibwe speak of the Missipeshu or underwater panther, a formidable creature guarding the deep waters and the creatures within. Rivers as spiritual pathways. Rivers are more than flowing water. They are pathways that connect life, communities, and the spiritual world. The spirits of rivers guide the flow of energy, life, and wisdom, teaching humans about change, persistence, and renewal. Water spirits in legends and stories. Stories of water beings abound in native oral traditions. Some tell of spirits who shape the landscape by carving riverbeds or creating springs. Other tales warn of water spirits who test the intentions of those who enter their domain, reminding people to approach water with humility. Water ceremonies and offerings. Ceremonies involving water honor its sacredness and seek to maintain harmony between humans and the water spirits. Offerings of tobacco, prayers, and songs are made to ask for clean water, safe passage, and healing. The role of water spirits in healing. Water spirits are often called upon in healing rituals, symbolizing cleansing and renewal. Many tribes believe that water can wash away physical ailments and spiritual impurities, facilitated by the presence of these powerful beings. Environmental stewardship inspired by water spirits. The belief in water beings fosters a profound responsibility to protect rivers, lakes, and wetlands from pollution and destruction. This spiritual framework supports modern conservation efforts led by native communities to safeguard water quality and aquatic ecosystems. Water in art and symbolism. Water imagery is prevalent in Native American art, symbolizing life, flow, and transformation. Depictions of river spirits and water beings serve as reminders of the vital connection between water, spirit, and culture. Contemporary relevance of water spirits. In today's world, the recognition of water spirits continues to inspire activism and cultural revitalization. Tribal leaders and activists often invoke these spirits in efforts to protect sacred waters from pipelines, dams, and contamination. Water spirits and future generations. The teachings of water beings emphasize respect, balance, and gratitude. Passing these stories and practices to younger generations ensures the continued reverence for water as a source of life and spiritual power. The language of the stones. Stones and rocks have long held profound significance in Native American cultures, regarded not just as physical objects but as living entities with stories, memories, and wisdom encoded within them. The belief in the language of the stones reflects the deep spiritual connection indigenous peoples have with the earth, viewing stones as silent witnesses to history, keepers of knowledge, and messengers between the natural and spiritual worlds. Stones as living beings. Many native traditions teach that stones are alive with spirit, possessing consciousness and memory. These rocks are more than mineral matter. They are integral participants in the fabric of life. Stones are seen as repositories of ancient wisdom, holding the experiences of the land and the people who have walked upon it. The sacred stories embedded in stones. The language of stones refers to the stories and lessons carried by them, often passed down through oral tradition and ceremony. Some stones are believed to contain the voices of ancestors or the echoes of significant events, making them sacred relics and storytelling tools. Petroglyphs and rock art. Stones as storytellers. Ancient rock carvings and paintings serve as visual languages, a way for tribes to communicate their histories, cosmologies, and spiritual beliefs. These petroglyphs are a tangible form of stone language, bridging time and space to connect past generations with the present. Stones in ceremony and ritual. Certain stones are central to ceremonial practices, used as altars, tools, or symbolic objects to invoke spiritual power. The choice of stones in rituals reflects their perceived spiritual potency and their connection to the natural world. Healing powers of stones. Many native cultures attribute healing properties to specific stones or minerals. They are used in ceremonies, medicine bundles, and sweat lodges to cleanse, protect, and balance the physical and spiritual bodies. Stones as guides and guardians. Stones often mark sacred sites, boundaries, or paths, serving as guides for those who seek spiritual or physical direction. They may act as guardians of sacred places, protecting the land and its inhabitants from harm. Geology and spirituality intertwined. The physical characteristics of stones, their color, shape, texture, are deeply linked to their spiritual meaning. Each type of stone is associated with specific powers, lessons, or connections to elements like fire, water, earth, and air. The role of stones in creation stories. Many creation myths highlight stones as foundational elements of the world or as beings involved in the formation of the land and life. These stories illustrate the sacred status of stones and their role in the cosmic order. Contemporary significance of stone language. Today, native artists, activists, and cultural leaders continue to honor the language of stones in their work, using traditional knowledge to promote environmental respect and cultural identity. Stones remain symbols of resilience, history, and connection to the earth in native communities. Passing the language to future generations. Teaching the language of stones to young people is vital for preserving cultural heritage. Through storytelling, art, and ceremony, the wisdom of stones is kept alive, fostering respect for the earth and its ancient voices. The fires that never go out. In Native American cultures, fire is far more than a physical phenomenon. It is a powerful spiritual symbol representing life, transformation, renewal, and connection to the Creator. The concept of the fires that never go out speaks to the eternal presence of sacred fire, an unbroken flame that carries the prayers, histories, and spirit of the people across generations. This flame is a living symbol of endurance, hope, and cultural continuity. The sacredness of fire. Fire is seen as a gift from the Creator, a source of warmth, light, and life. It purifies and transforms, enabling both physical survival and spiritual growth. Many tribes maintain sacred fires that burn continuously during ceremonies, embodying the living spirit of their community. Eternal fires and their meanings. Some native communities hold perpetual fires that never extinguish, symbolizing the unending connection between past, present, and future. These flames represent continuity, resilience, and the survival of traditions despite adversity. Fire as a medium of prayer. In ceremonies, fire acts as a bridge between the earthly world and the spirit realm. Prayers and offerings are given to the fire, which carries them upward to the Creator and ancestors. The role of fire in ceremonies. Fire is central to many rituals, sweat lodges, purification rites, healing ceremonies, and storytelling gatherings. The fire's glow creates a sacred space where the community gathers in unity and spiritual focus. Fire keepers, guardians of the flame. Certain individuals are entrusted with maintaining the sacred fire, a role of great responsibility and honor. Fire keepers ensure the flame burns steadily, honoring the ancestors and preserving the community's spiritual heart. Fire and transformation. Fire's power to transform, turning wood to ash, warming cold nights, and providing light, mirrors the spiritual transformation sought in many native teachings. It symbolizes renewal, the burning away of the old to make space for new growth. Fire in myth and legend. Many native legends feature fire as a key element, a stolen gift, a source of knowledge, or a living spirit that teaches humanity. These stories convey the profound respect and awe with which fire is regarded. Fire and the natural world. Controlled burns, practiced for generations, demonstrate a deep understanding of fire's role in maintaining ecological balance. Fire clears dead brush, encourages new growth, and sustains the health of forests and grasslands. The fire's role in community cohesion. Around the fire, stories are told, songs are sung, and wisdom is passed down. The fire is a gathering place, fostering bonds and reinforcing identity. The everlasting flame in modern times. Despite historical attempts to suppress native ceremonies, many communities have preserved the tradition of sacred fires. Today, the fires that never go out are powerful symbols of resistance, survival, and hope for future generations. A future rooted in memory. The strength of Native American cultures lies deeply rooted in the memory of their ancestors, in the stories, traditions, and wisdom passed down through countless generations. A future rooted in memory speaks to the profound connection between the past and the path forward, honoring the heritage that shapes identity and guides native peoples toward renewal, resilience, and sovereignty. The importance of memory in native cultures. Memory is not merely recollection but a living force. It embodies teachings, values, and lessons that inform everyday life, decision-making, and community cohesion. Oral histories, songs, and ceremonies serve as vessels for this memory, ensuring that knowledge remains vibrant and accessible. Passing down stories. Through generations, elders have shared stories that teach morals, explain the world, and preserve historical truths. These stories are not static. They adapt and grow, connecting the ancient past with contemporary experiences. Memory as resistance. For centuries, native communities have faced efforts to erase their languages, cultures, and identities. In this context, holding on to memory becomes an act of resistance, a defiant preservation of self against assimilation. Reclaiming identity. Younger generations, empowered by elders' teachings, are reclaiming their languages, traditions, and ceremonies. This renaissance breathes life into memory, making it a cornerstone for cultural revival. Education and cultural continuity. Community schools, language programs, and cultural workshops are vital in rooting youth in their heritage. By learning history firsthand, young people carry forward the legacy, blending memory with new aspirations. Honoring ancestors' sacrifices. Remembering the hardships, struggles, and triumphs of ancestors inspires a commitment to justice, healing, and progress. This deep respect fosters gratitude and a responsibility to honor their legacy through action. Memory in modern native art and literature. Contemporary native artists, writers, and filmmakers draw on memory to tell stories that challenge stereotypes and celebrate identity. Their work bridges past and present, influencing broader cultural understanding. Cultural sovereignty and memory. Sovereignty is strengthened by remembering treaties, ancestral lands, and the principles that guided nations. This rootedness in memory provides the foundation for legal and political advocacy. The role of ceremony and ritual. Ceremonies reconnect people to their history and to one another, reinforcing memory through communal experience. These sacred gatherings nurture spiritual continuity and cultural vitality. A vision for the future. With memory as its foundation, Native America looks forward with hope, creativity, and determination. The past is not a weight but a source of strength, lighting the way toward healing, growth, and enduring presence.